Well, in a small French town, there lived 3 different saints. We have Saint Louis and Saint Zelie Martin and their daughter, Saint Therese of Lisieux. Now, Saint Louis and Saint Zelie did not become canonized saints until the year 2015 by Pope Francis, our current Pope. So they are more recently named saints. Well, these two are the first married couple to be named saints of the Catholic Church. Well, they had 9 children, and 4 of them died at a young age, and they had 5 daughters that survived, and all 5 daughters went on to become nuns. 4 of them were Carmelite nuns, and 1 joined a different order. Their 5th daughter in that line of daughters was Saint Therese of Lisieux. She became a Carmelite nun, and she also became a saint. She is known as the Little Flower, and Pope Pius X called her the greatest saint of modern times. This family lived in the late 1800s. And Louis and Zelie are considered saints because of the great job they did creating a home life that built faith and love in their children, and the fact that they encouraged vocations, and that every single child that lived in their family went on to become a nun. And so a vocation is choosing, like, well, you can have a vocation to be married, or a lot of times we think of vocations as being sisters and priests, to be follow that vocation. But actually marriage is a vocation as well. Now, I have read 2 different books about Saint Therese of Lisieux. I read you part of the Saint Francis book. This is from the series The Life of a Saint, and it says Saint Therese, the Little Flower of Lisieux. Another very good book. I love this saint series because it's more of a picture book. But I've also read an excellent chapter book. My son and I read this one together when he was in middle school. It's called The Little Flower, The Story of Saint Therese and the Child Jesus. If you know anybody who's familiar with Saint Therese of Lisieux, they're probably familiar with her little way. Well, what is Saint Therese's little way? Well, she wasn't martyred, she didn't suffer tons of persecution, she didn't have any bad diseases. She just lived a nice, simple, ordinary life in her small French town, followed by, I think she was quite young, maybe 14, 15 when she joined the Carmelites. And she just did all her daily tasks with devotion to those she was serving and to God. In fact, as she embraced all of her small tasks, she said, "Remember that nothing is small in the eyes of God. Do all things with love." Okay? I think that is just a huge thing that all of us can do, that no matter what you're doing, whether you're a student now, whatever job you have in the future, whatever task your parents ask you to do, your chores around the house and so forth, or even if you are suffering, just offering that up for somebody else, and just taking everything that comes in your life and remembering that God sees all, and if you do it with love, it can be done for the good of the world. Now, she was declared a doctor of the church. There are only 36 doctors of the church in the entire 2,000 plus years since saints have been named. And what does that mean? Well, it means that she had some very advanced writings about the church, and that she had extra knowledge that helps us to understand more fully the Catholic faith. These doctors are named because of their writings, that they appear to be very filled with the Holy Spirit as they wrote these. Now, the last thing that she's known for is roses. Now, I mentioned that Saint Therese's nickname is the Little Flower, and that is really coming from something that she said about roses. She said, "My mission to make God loved will begin after my death. I will spend my heaven doing good on earth. I will let fall a shower of roses." There's so many miracles where roses have fallen. Because if Saint Therese of Lisieux hears your prayer and it's answered, there's probably a good chance you may see some roses as well. Here's one story. One of the sisters, stricken with an incurable illness, wept at the foot of her bed. And when she raised her head, she sensed that she could walk on her own, that she had been cured. Just as Therese had so desired, a shower of roses began to fall. Through her intercession, miracles happened. There is actually a book, and I have not read this book about St. Therese, but it's called The Shower of Roses, and it recounts all the miracles that have occurred after the death of St. Therese. One last thing about her. Her last words as she died were, "Oh my God, I love you."